And we will swiftly move on to the keynote address, Embracing Neurodiversity for Transformational Change by Sara Ballinger. Ms. Ballinger is a professional coach, co-founder, and principal consultant at Blooming Talent, an HR and learning and development professional. Her expertise lies in the fields of leadership, personal effectiveness, team cohesion, and is devoted to identification and development of talent. Please welcome the first keynote speaker of this year's convention, Ms. Sara Ballinger.
Good morning, everybody. Oh my goodness. So one of the questions I'm asked all the time when I'm delivering events like this is, how come you never get nervous? You've got to be kidding. I am so nervous. Look at you all. You know, this is the worst audience for somebody like me to present to because you're all professionals in this sort of environment, and that makes it really nerve-wracking because I'm talking to people who are better than me at this stuff. So, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much for your attendance. What a thrill. So, there's a reason that I started my presentation with the immortal words of the wisdom that is Katy Perry. And that reason is that each and every one of you in this room is a firework. You're unique. No two fireworks ever look the same when they explode in the sky, do they? You're full of your own colour, your own energy, you're all incredible brightness. And, as Mr. Hussein Afif said, transformational change starts with you, which means that each one of you first needs to understand just what it is you bring. What is your own unique firework? Wish me luck. Hooray! My name is Sara Ballinger, and thank you so much, Aisha, for that introduction. I am co-founder, along with my husband, Christian, who's here in the audience, of the Blooming Talent training company, one of 3 agencies that we run. This one focused on inspiring performance by engaging with your inborn talents. I just want to give you a little bit of background as to my connection, if you like, with the Maldives. I think about 8 years ago now. I mean, I can't remember. I know there are people in the audience who were witness to my introduction to the Maldives as I joined the ranks of hospitality here. 2015, I don't know, can't remember, it was a long time ago, but my association remains strong because one of the greatest learning curves I went on was my time here. And the reason for that was that when I was working in the UK running a business, it was all so easy. I was so inside my comfort zone that I really wasn't learning anything anymore. Coming to work in a country which was foreign to me, with a different culture and different expectations, took me outside of that comfort zone. And that's where the learning happens. I will be forever grateful to the Maldives for that opportunity and the incredible lessons I learned from you wonderful, wonderful people. Literally, I want to come back here at least once a year for the rest of my life. It is the most magical place with the most magical people, and I love all of you. So thank you for being here today to witness my finally being able to share what I've learned with you all. After a long wait, right? So good to be here. Now, we're talking about embracing neurodiversity for transformational change. When we think of diversity, we think about things like age and gender and race and all of those usual things. And sometimes, and actually in this room, I expect a lot of you think about neurodiversity too, we forget that you could have a team of people that were from different countries, from different cultures, different genders, different ages, different educational backgrounds, but all have the same mind. Have you ever worked in a team full of mini-me's, where the boss has basically just recruited lots of him or herself in different guises? I see some smiles and nods. So we know that that happens. So we have to take a step further than just thinking about the age, gender, cultural background, and think about our neurodiversity too if we want to affect change. I couldn't have said it better than Mr. Hussein Afif. It starts with you. Transformational change starts with you. We talk about transformational change in businesses, but every transformational change in a business requires a team, and every team is made up of individuals. And actually, who is the person you have the greatest influence over? Yes, exactly. You. So let's start with you. And what you learn from exploring more about yourself, you can then take and apply to the people around you. And listen, if you're a parent, this stuff's really useful to understand if you've got kids too. It might be really helpful. Can I see a show of hands? How many parents do I have in the room? Oh, you're going to love this. So, question. Personality. Is it nature or is it nurture? If you think that our personality is mostly nature, please stand up for me now. Nobody? This is the first time this has ever happened. If you think that personality is mainly nurture, please stand up for me now. Wow, thank you. Just for out of interest, if you think it's an equal mix of both, stand up now. Ah, interesting. Okay, so the answer, in fact, she says, hoping her clicker's going to work, is that it is a bit of both, and how much of a bit of both it is actually requires how old you are. Honestly, it's that simple, so let me talk you through that. So personality, something I've been really, really interested in because I am one of 6 children. 4 of us were born of the same mum and dad, and we all grew up in the same house. We had the same parents, we went to the same schools, but we were so different. And I spent most of my childhood thinking, why are my sisters so weird? Why are they so weird? And so latterly, I went into what in the olden days, before Google, we used to use libraries. Do you remember those? I think we still have them. I used to go to the library and read copious books about psychology and personality development so that I started really to learn about it from a very early stage. And this is what I learned, and this is what I'm going to share with you today. Forgive me if you know all this stuff already. I realise I'm talking to HR professionals, but just bear with me. It's a good story anyway, right? So, personality. It starts with what you've sort of inherit, I guess. So, your DNA, what you take from your parents. It's got to start from there, right? Now, I often think that as human beings, when we're born with a sort of hard drive. You know when you buy a new computer, it's already got some stuff on it? That's a bit like being a human being. So, those of you who said you were parents, this might sort of connect for you. When your kids are tiny, you know how they have a really distinct personality already? Sometimes you've got the little scientist, million trillion questions about everything. Like, but why is the sky blue, but why, etc. Or you've got the little entertainer, singing and dancing, keeping you entertained, telling jokes. Or perhaps you've got the little action man or woman who learns by bashing things and breaking them in half to see how they work. And then, of course, we've got the loving, caring, sharing children who are all about cuddles and they want to hang onto your leg when you're walking around the house. They're all about sharing with and having lots of friends. So that all starts right from the word go. We already have that inbuilt. And then, over the years, the role models that surround us teach us so much, don't they? And we tend to learn things like what to believe, what's good and what's bad, what's right and what's wrong. how to behave, how to respect. We learn these things from our role models as we develop. And the environment that we grow up in teaches us different things too. So, if you come from a large family with not very much money, like I did, you learn to work really hard if you want to have stuff. Or you learn resilience if you come up through a difficult environment. So our environment, and actually, let's look at the flip side of that. Some people have confidence and that sense of entitlement that comes with having come from a background or an environment that's always provided everything they've ever wanted just when they ask for it. So we've always got to consider the environment in our development and the culture. Now, there's two sorts of culture here that I want to talk about. One is our country culture. When I think about culture, one of the countries that always comes to my mind is the Netherlands. I've never yet met a Dutch person. Have we got any Dutch people in the room? No Dutch people. Good, I can say whatever I like. I've never yet met a Dutch person that doesn't like going for a really lovely long walk or climb up a mountain or go for an 800-mile cycle ride. They're crazily busy, active, fit people. And I think it's because they live in a really flat country, so they've never had to climb up a hill. Now, for you guys, if you want to go on a really long run, you've got to go round and round in circles. Oh, dear. In fact, I often see your posts, Afif, and I think, how many times around the island was that? So our culture definitely affects the way that we bring up. Think about how many Italians do we have in the room? Oh, good, excellent. I can, again. Italians, they're all crazy people. They're waving their arms. They're full of fire. And so when I think about culture, I think about country culture, but I also think about business culture. Do you come from a culture in your business which is dictatorial, command and control? Or is your culture in your business about empowering and coaching? Or is it taking a more flexible approach and applying the appropriate style to the need of the people in any given moment? Do you have a servant leadership mentality, or the leader is there to be in charge and you work for the leader? So these things will also affect the way that we behave and develop over time. And of course, our experiences are the things that give us either more or less confidence. Our experiences are the things that give us more or less confidence. Example. When I was first, after years of begging people to give me a job in training, when I got my first, please let me be a trainer, please let me be. That's all I ever wanted to do. When I got my first proper training job, and it was time for me to stand up in front of a group of people and do this kind of thing. Oh, I was so nervous, I was nearly sick. But I did it. And the more I did it, and the better I got, the more my confidence grew. Now, if the first time I'd done it, I'd had a horrible, horrible experience, I might never have gone and done it again. It might have eroded my confidence. I feel as if confidence is like bricks in a wall. The more times you do it well, or, okay, the more bricks you have in your wall, the more confident you become. So your experiences matter. So here's the thing. We are all unique as a firework, because even if we have that inbuilt person that we're born as, we develop all these layers over years. And so we become very unique. And yet, there are patterns in the way we perceive the world around us, how we communicate with others, and the actions that we take. And these patterns have been well established for millennia. I'll tell you more. I got all overly confident then and thought the clicker was going to work without me having to point it in the direction of the computer. These are brain scans. And what we've learned through neuroscience, I did a module on neuroscience, by the way. I think that nearly makes me a scientist. These are brain scans, and what we've learned is that we have these distinct patterns within our brain that are, we sometimes call it personality or traits or preferences, and they fire up in different ways in different people. Example, introversion and extroversion is inborn. You are either an introvert or an extrovert, and that's that. Lots of people say, oh, I used to be an introvert, but now I'm an extrovert. No, you're an introvert who's developed extroverted behaviours. And this is shown in brain scans. So this isn't mumbo jumbo. Ladies and gentlemen, this is science. I'm just putting that out there. Now, when we talk about being in our element, what does it mean to you? Can somebody tell me what it feels like when you're in your element? Comfortable? Natural? Comfortable? Yeah? You're in? Oh, I love that. Connected to your soul. That is beautiful and accurate. Here's the thing. Although we these days have Jungian philosophy, those of you who are familiar with that will know that Carl Jung came up with the dimensions of personality. We have Myers-Briggs personality tests that give us 16 types. There's a lot of stuff out there, isn't there? DISC, insights, there's millions of them. Did you know, and I'm hoping you didn't know this, otherwise it won't be a surprise, that the first personality testing happened thousands of years ago, when there were tribal systems who started to assign personality to people and called them elements. And this is our version, Blooming Talent's version, of those elements. So let me talk to you about these. I'm just going to swap hands. Back in the day, there were the tribes. And they were looking at each other and they were saying, why is so-and-so so weird? And then they realised that so-and-so wasn't so weird. It was just that they had a different type of personality. And they looked at it like this. I think they used elements because that was really the best reference. And I think it's still the best reference. The people who were from that sort of northern part of their personality, which is a bit cooler and more task-focused, were very action-orientated or very involved with reflection and understanding things and looking at the whys and the wherefores. And the people with that warmer personality tended to be the people who were more about engaging with others and visualising the future. And then you had the people over on the east of this compass, which I invented, by the way, and I was very, very proud of myself, so I hope you like it. On the east side of this compass, we've got the people with a more extroverted personality, potentially, and on the west, we've got the more introverted personality. So let me explain how that worked in the tribes. Action. This is the warrior, hunter-gatherer, protector of the camp, all about action and getting stuff done. Not really prone to small talk and chit-chat. Let's just get on with it. Let's get it done. Professor. Let's examine these stars and what's going on with these cycles of the tides and how does the moon relate to that? So there was a lot of that kind of analysing and trying to understand the world around them. The peacekeeper, back at camp, looking after everybody, making sure they're fed and watered, making sure that everybody's being taken care of, keeping peace. And the storyteller, guess which one I am? I'm wearing the badge. I'm wearing the badge. The storyteller, the person who is all about sharing knowledge, sharing wisdom, telling stories, sitting at the campfire, doing this, ta-da, all of that stuff. And these are the personality types that still exist today. We are still tribal, let's be honest. And what's interesting about our tribal systems these days, now it's going off by itself, is that we have lost connection with the need for these different types in some of our teams. So I'm just going to give you a quick look at each of these 4 types. Now, as I read these out, you'll be able to recognise yourself in some of these, maybe one of them most strongly. Maybe you see a bit of all of these in your personality. But what I want you to think about is, which one was I before all those layers of learning, all those different things that I took away from my role models, my environment, my culture, etc.? Which one is most me? What child was I? So, first of all, Earth. Solid, honest, confident, goal-focused. If you are somebody with an Earth preference, then you are likely to be saying things like, let's do this. I think Afif's got this as his second preference, just saying. like to take action, decisive, like facts, not given to small talk, driven by results, focused on personal achievement, competitive, determined, and resilient. Now, these are all wonderful, wonderful qualities. We also have to remember that when we're seen through the lens of another, they might sometimes be seen as less. There's some nodding going on, less than positive. So sometimes we just have to temper those qualities. We are driven as Earth by tasks and goals. Example, my dad, Earth. Growing up, I used to think that he was less affectionate than I would have liked. Turns out it's because he's Earth. So his way of loving is to do the right thing for his family, to work hard, to make money, to take care of us. That's how he loves. So you don't love any less if you're action-orientated, you just love by doing, rather than by like having cuddles and stuff. Anyway, that was fine because it meant more pocket money. Fear, losing control and displaying weakness. If you have a strong Earth preference, you probably find displaying your emotions really difficult. Don't really like doing that, don't want to display any weakness, and certainly don't want to lose control. And friends, you might have a few close friends, but loads of followers, loads of people who like to follow you because you keep things moving. So that's Earth. Then we have air. And remembering our tribal systems, this was the professor. Come on, there we go. This is about reflection and likely to be heard to say, let's plan. So air are logical thinkers who seek to understand the big picture. Lots of why questions. They're contingency planners, they're risk averse. They're often perfectionists who prefer quality over quantity. And that's true of friends as well as work. They like clarity, and they're socially and environmentally conscious, probably because you can see the big picture, so you can see what's happening in the world around you all of the time. They're orderly, and I'd just like to say, as a caveat, that orderly does not mean tidy. My sister is a doctor of geology, and she is very air. She is orderly, she knows where everything is, but honestly, her house, well, I just don't know what to say to you. Focus on systems and process improvement and very responsible. And come on, you can do it. There we go. And air is driven by facts, logic, and a need to understand the world around you. You have a fear of criticism of your knowledge because you've spent a long time making sure that you really know what you're talking about. So if somebody criticizes you, it's a bit of a blow. And you might have a few close friends who you'll tell your deepest, darkest secrets to, and a great network of like-minded people that you are on clubs and networking societies with. Then we have water, our warm, inclusive, sharing, relationship-focused. My husband is one of these, which is a good job because I like everything to be about me, and he likes everything to be about me. It's perfect. So this is about connection, likely to be heard saying, let's work together. This is about relationships primarily. Considerate, caring, truly empathetic, not having to work on it, not having to learn how to be, just are. A team worker, a nurturer, somebody who is supportive and wants others to be successful and happy, who's inclusive and wants everybody to be involved. Justice is really important if you've got a water preference. Also very respectful of one another, but once that respect has been lost, it's very seldom regained. I often think of the water as being the it's almost like we don't give you enough. You're so nice, if you've got a water preference, that people can sometimes underestimate you. But when you go off like a firework in a biscuit tin, and it can get ugly. So we have to be respectful of you in return. Otherwise, it can go wrong. Driven by your own and others' feelings and emotions. So you're very, very tuned into people. You're like a human barometer for emotion and energy. You have a fear of change and loss, especially if it's sudden, with an impact on relationships. I've always got a story. I was working with a publishing house in Leicester Square in central London, and they did a change. They changed from everybody having their own desk to hot desking. Oh my goodness. The water preference. They went bananas. Where am I supposed to put my cactus? I had my photo of my cat on there. What happens now? It caused bedlam. So we have to be mindful of the fact that different types of people will have different responses to situations, and we need to be aware of that when we make change in business. You know, if you're talking transformational change, be aware of this stuff. Loads of friends. Christian, my husband, Christian, just wave. He's here. He has so many friends, what? How is that possible? How have you even got time? And he remembers to talk to them all. I've got 3 or 4 friends that I occasionally remember, and mostly because I see a post on Facebook. And this is the last of them. FIRE, creative, engaging, positive, opportunity-focused. Everything is an opportunity, an entrepreneurial adventure. Hooray! It doesn't necessarily mean you're successful or manage to complete any of those entrepreneurial adventures, but you're all up for it. This is about vision. FIRE has such a future focus, seldom looking backwards, constantly looking forwards, likely to be heard saying, hey, we're here for a good time, not a long time, or let's enjoy ourselves, or come on everybody, let's have a fun time. Now some of you in the audience will be going, oh, I hate those people. And that's the way it is, right, in human nature. So it's all about being positive and wanting to get the most out of life, and also wanting other people to enjoy life. I think I'm a FIRE, you can tell. I think I must drive my friends nuts. Like, don't look on the downside, look on the upside. Okay, so you've lost your job, your house, your car, but hey, you can go anywhere now. And they're like, yeah, thanks for that. We're creative with ideas, not necessarily creative like artistic. I can't draw anything. I can't bake, but I am always coming up with ideas. We sometimes call FIRE the popcorn machine, firing off ideas all over the place. Also drives people mad because we haven't really thought about it. It's just a great idea. We're very engaging, relationship-focused. We can see possibilities in everything, and it's all about inspiring people and telling stories. You can see I'm in the right job, right? I've totally tapped into my element here. So we are all about, this always makes me laugh. I mean, it's true, I have to confess, attention. We're all about relationships and attention. It's a funny thing, though, because we only want attention when it suits us. And then we don't want attention. I see myself as being a little like a 2 to 4-year-old child who runs really fast around the place making a lot of noise and then sits down with a sulky face and says, I don't want to play anymore because I need a rest. So it's all about making people happy. We have a deep fear of rejection. So please don't reject me. Please don't just boo or anything at the end, because that will destroy me. That'll be the end of me. Right, so rejection, whether it be personal or professional, is a really deep fear. We have less really deep friendships. I've got a couple of best friends, but I have a really huge network of people that are great mates and great networking pals and people I learn from, people that inspire me. So I'm surrounded by those people. But fortunately, I don't subject too many people to having to listen to me whinging on about my life, which doesn't happen very often because I'm so positive. So you might be wondering what your strongest element is, or you might be sitting there thinking, I know my strongest element. From looking at that, I can tell you now that you're really annoying, and therefore I think I'm probably air. But we're going to give you something when I'm concluding this talk, which you can use to find out your strongest element. Oh, there we go. Moving on. When you've completed your little questionnaire, which will give you a QR code towards the end of this talk, you'll get a result that looks a little bit like this. This is not mine, because I've got air at the bottom. But it essentially demonstrates that whilst we all have that inherent inbuilt preference that we got from birth, we, over the years, and I'm waiting for my build to build. Are you going to? Oh, there we are. We, over the years, of course, develop all of these other traits around that preference, which is a mix of our natural and our developed preferences. What I mean by that is all of those role models, experiences, the jobs you do, the people you know, etc., makes for a rounded individual, right? So you'll see a pie chart that says you're mostly this, which could mean that that's your inherent strength, and then you've built all of this other stuff around you so that you can be more flexible in your approach to the world and the people in it. Your dominant preference is your natural gift. Look, the way I look at this genuinely is you have a God-given gift. Your strength, the person you were born to be, was God-given, and your job is to pay that back by using those gifts in your life and in your work. That's how you pay God back for that beautiful gift. It's where you go when you're not making conscious decisions about your behaviour. Here's the real rub for this one. So it doesn't matter how fancy your pie chart looks. When you're tired, stressed, hungry, overexcited, you will go to your natural preference. We call it reverting to type. Ever heard that phrase? It means that when your brain is tired or overexcited, it goes to the neural pathways that's been best established. And the neural pathways that are best established are the ones that you've had from birth. So under those circumstances, you'll find yourself reverting to type. Now, I always say to my coaching clients and my trainees and my participants at events, catch yourself in the act of being yourself. After this, catch yourself in the act of being yourself. Become an observer of your own behavior, and you'll start to recognize these things that I'm talking about in yourself. So you might be saying to yourself, I'm definitely Earth, definitely, because I am a goal-getter, a goal-setter, and I'm all about the results. And then later you find that you're worried about rejection, or you're having a bit of a diva tantrum, and that perhaps you're more fire than you thought. So just catch yourself in the act of being yourself. Because when you understand that, you can tap into it and you make use of it. What does it take to make this scene possible? Looks familiar, doesn't it? What does it take to make this scene possible? Any ideas? Oh, do you see what I did there? Yeah, do you like that? It takes all four elements working together to create something beautiful. And this is true in our businesses. So if we really want to create something beautiful, we really need to embrace neurodiversity in our teams. Encourage it, not be scared of it. Draw it in, be aware of it. Think about who you're recruiting and why, and who you're not recruiting and why. So we need to embrace neurodiversity in our teams. And that will allow us to really tap in to those different skills, strengths, and energies that exist within our teams. There's a bit of a lag here, so I'm learning to speak before the next slide. It will come there you go. And what we want is to see people in our teams who are all about taking action, being results-focused, driving things forward. People who are reflective and are saying, hold on a minute. Let's just check this, shall we? Let's just make sure it's going to work. People who are saying, and can we also check that everybody's happy with this and that we've thought about the people that are involved in this process, if we're making change especially. And then, of course, there's the vision. I think it would work like this. I've got an idea, etc. I've got an amazing idea for a great... Blah, 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 blah. So when you've got all four of those types working together in your team, it is a magical thing. And you can achieve so much more. I think I would also like you to go away with this message. Your personality belongs to you, 100%. It was gifted to you by God. Own it, love it, really cherish it, embrace it, and share it with the world. But remember, she says, hoping that the slide is going to move on just in time. Come on. There we go. God, it's a bit slow. Takes a while to get from here to there. Your behaviour belongs to everybody. So who you are is your business. What you think is your business. What you do belongs to everyone. That's the stuff. Here's the really good news that you can change. Hooray! Now, I'm a behavioural change consultant, so that's really good news for me because it means that I will have a job, hopefully, for the rest of my life. Because your personality is not something I want to mess with, but your behaviour, that's for everybody, and that's the thing that you can change. So actually, transformational change starts with you and reflecting on what you can do differently to affect the world around you. Because what you do impacts on everyone and impacts on the way that they feel and what they do. I sometimes think of it as, what weather do you bring? What weather do you bring with you in the morning when you walk into the office? Are you bringing energy and enthusiasm and encouraging diversity and engaging with people, or are you not? I'm still waiting for the slide to change. There we go. So, embracing neurodiversity for transformational change in yourself. Remember, catch yourself in the act of being yourself. Reflect on this over the course of the next 2 days and beyond. Maybe seek feedback from others and ask them what they think. Be who you are. Focus on what you do. What is working for you? What isn't? And how can you change that? So if you start with yourself, you can then start to take some of these principles and think about how they work in your business, recognizing the need for all 4 elements in your team, embracing those differences rather than seeing them as challenging and difficult, encouraging innovation by really engaging with those different personalities, and building trust by being respectful and really encouraging and embracing those different types of personality. You know, for a long time, introverts got a really tough time. How many of you in the room think you're introverted? You can tell it's HR professionals. There's not very many introverts. And it's true to say, oh, hang on, I've gone a bit further than I... No, it's going off on its own. And it's true to say that for a long time, introverts got a really tough time, but I think we've become much more aware now of the power of introversion because there's a deeper level of thinking that goes on there. I'm not sure what's happening to my slides now. They're doing whatever they like, so I don't know if I've missed a bit. Anybody? Oh, it's probably going to go backwards again in a minute. Now, I just wanted to share with you a couple of success stories as we come to the close of the session. As a business, we worked with super yachts, hotels in the UK and abroad, resorts in all sorts of places, a lot of the Maldives. We've put some focus, Southeast Asia. And what you see here is some of the groups that we've used elements with. And in terms of success stories, in the top left, you see a super yacht. It's not the super yacht because we had to sign an NDA, so we can't tell you which super yacht it was, but they were having a bit of a problem with their crew. Now, I don't know if you know anything about super yachting, but you have a lot of people working together in incredibly cramped conditions. Like they're literally sleeping on top of each other. And they're working 20 hours a day. Now, it sounds a little bit like working on a resort, and actually one of the things that although we weren't sleeping on top of each other literally, but one of the things I learned was that when you live and work together in really close proximity, everything's really magnified emotionally. And so taking that experience to super yachting was really helpful. And what we discovered on this boat was that they'd formed cliques. They'd formed cliques according to their nationality or their seniority. And what we needed to do was break those cliques down and instead have everybody see each other as equal people in the crew rather than job titles or nationalities. And then up there and over there, you see there's a hotel in the UK called Heckfield Place, which now has something like 30 plus awards for best hotel. And we did their pre-opening training. We're very proud. And we brought that team together, nearly 300 people, 270, I can't remember the numbers. Christian's the money man and the numbers man. We brought them together, and we spent 5 full days with the whole team in pre-opening training, and they learnt about each other, about each other's job roles, about the interdependency in their teams, about how much housekeeping relied on the back office, how much the kitchen relied on the F&B team, and really understanding each other and how to work together. And we've had some incredible successes and lots of awards for the companies that we've worked with because we've been able to bring those teams together. And they're nice pictures. She says, stalling for time. There we go. So I promised you that I'd give you something that would enable you to establish your strongest element. And so, we're going to share with you something that you can do on your phone. Now, I'm going to run through it with you now, quite quickly, because I've got 4 minutes and 52 seconds left. And then you can do this at any time to suit you. The QR code is there now if you want to try and grab it on your phone. And if you can't because you're too far away or you can't capture it, there's the URL. So if you just screenshot that screen, hopefully you'll be able to do the test as soon as the break. So I'll just give you a minute to do that. Username is elements with a capital E. Password is Maldives with a capital M. And what you'll get is a little screen like this on your phone. That's where you put the elements username and the password Maldives. And then you put your details in there, your name, your company, your email address, tick I've read and agree, begin the quiz, and then you'll get something like this. All of the boxes are greyed out, and you'll see it says, click on the answers in the order that they apply to you. You can rearrange them afterwards if you make a mistake, and when you're done, click the red button at the bottom. So I would describe myself as you click on those words and phrases in the order that they apply to you, and then they go green. And then if you want to, you can drag them around until they're in the right order. Don't overthink it. Usually your first response is your most accurate response. And then when you've done that, and you've swapped them around, you can just click on the little red next button. There are 10 questions, so it'll take you a few minutes. And you can just hold on to it for the time being. What you'll see first is your strongest element, your dominant preference, and then you'll get your breakdown on the next slide. And what I would like you to do is take a screenshot of your results when you've got them. And in your bags, you will each have a little pin that looks like this one on my lapel here. I'm just waiting for the slide to move on. There we go. Now, in your bags, you will have a little pin. Fire, an air, an earth, or a water pin. It might not be the right one. That means you're going to have to go out there and find somebody who has got your pin and wants somebody else's pin. So we really, Afif said this, and I wholeheartedly agree with him, get yourself out there and see if you can meet some new people. So during the break, wave your pin around and say, anybody got an air? I've got a fire and I'm not a fire. Anybody got an earth? Because I've got water and I'm not water. And see if you can find somebody who's got your pin and swap them around. If you can't find anybody with your pin, you come and see me or Christian, and we will supply you with the pin of your choice. But you've got to show us your screenshot. Okay? And then, when you're walking around wearing your pin with pride, owning your God-given gift, you can see people who are different from you and strike up a conversation with them. I'm fire, you're air. I've always really admired the fact that you've got attention to detail and you really think about things, whereas I'm like a scatterbrain. And have those conversations. It's a great way to start having a conversation with others. And that's it. I'm done. Oh, I made it. Oh, thank goodness. So thank you so much. Thank you. I loved this. I enjoyed myself. I hope you did. And I can relax now and say a very sincere thank you to all of you for listening to my opening talk. I hope you enjoyed it and found something useful in it. And I look forward to meeting you out and about over the course of the next 2 days.